absolutely love that show, and it reminds me of Joseph Campbell with the Follow Your Bliss. Like,
Yeah.
it's these follow the trail of what really likes you, what makes you feel like you, and do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've thought of something else as well. It would be use your oils. Like, just get
Yes.
still and use frankincense, the oil of truth, and just listen and use. I'd love to see you do this, Stephen, and use bergamot. You know, like the oil of self-assurance. To get really still and let the oils like do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that as one of the tool is actually meditation, and I know it's out there, but practicing moments of quietness, stillness, help you also to come to terms with what are your strengths. And it takes practice, because for a lot of people, meditation is not an easy practice. But if you can start with just a couple minutes and just be in that stillness and just ask, what am I here for? What are my strengths? And you may not get the answer right away, but if you start practicing it, you will get the answer, and it will settle, and it will feel great. And not only that, but you will get the answer about how to apply that strength. So it's another way, when combined with the oils, that you can really go a little bit deeper and find that light and find that and that strength.
Thank you, Emmanuelle. Let's shift the conversation a little bit to the second half of our question. And that is, how do we share that light with others if we've identified what it is? There's a quote, I couldn't find the author, but it says, when you show up authentically, you create the space for others to do the same. Walk in your truth. So as we show up authentically, we've recognized our own strengths. We're trying to live our life from that place. How does that impact others? How can we impact others?
I think it comes down, first of all, it's about this self-acceptance, about taking ownership of who you are. And we're always evolving. I was nervous about coming here to talk, because I was thinking in 6 months down the line, probably what I'm saying is going to have shifted. I'll have expanded. I'll have bigger, better, brighter ideas. And then I just had to say, right now, I'm enough. Right now, today, I can only show up with who I am right now, and that's enough, right? And so I think that's the first thing. And then we can feel vulnerable, because when you're speaking your truth, it can feel vulnerable. That you can be worrying about what other people are going to think, and you have to stop that. We're not looking for other people's approval. This is all about staying on our unique path, and everyone else is on their path too. And so I think I started with Instagram, just writing. I love writing, and I would write. And then I found that I really like to build my business just by coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. And it's just one-to-one, meeting up with someone, listening to them. That's the way that I do it. Somebody else will do it completely different, and that's also, as long as it's in alignment with who they are, it's perfect. So just baby steps, I think. You don't have to suddenly, fling yourself out of your house and jump around in the street. You can. And Doterra provides this safe community, I think. Everyone wants you to do well. Everyone wants you to be you. Everyone wants you to rise and expand and grow and be more of you. And so we're in this safe community where we can test our wings, and we can fail, and that's all fine too.
I love that. I love that both you and Emmanuelle have talked about comparison. There's a quote, I don't know who says it, but comparison is the thief of joy. And I think it's easy in this business to look around at others. Someone's moved more quickly than I have. Someone has huge classes with 30 people showing up. I can barely get one. Stephen's getting 11 enrollments a month because of the way he does it. And, you know, it's easy to look around and say, I don't measure up to all of these people. And I think what we're encouraging today is look in, find where you, you know, when they talk about strengths, they're like, go with the things that you just can't, you just look forward to doing and do it that way. So if you're not doing your business in a way that gets you really excited, then it's time to look inward and decide in what way am I just trying to copy someone else and do it their way? How can I make this more about how it feels comfortable and right for me?
I think people need to remember you need to be the best you can be. You don't need to be the best that's better than somebody else. The best you can be, and even when I'm doing my business the way I do, I don't look at other Doterra consultants, to be frank with you, but I look at other affiliate marketers and online marketers and say, I wish I could do it like them, but then I won't envy that. Envying that is no good. I find out what they're doing, and I will not do everything, but I'll pick the bits I want and fit them into my business. And if they don't work, then they don't work for me. And it's because it's me. It's not the technique.
But what's really interesting is that you said, okay, you don't know anything about this subject. What are my strengths? I don't know them. And in fact, you absolutely do. Like you're building the business.
Well, maybe I misunderstood the question. I think that's probably what I'm. That is my downside, is that I'm a bit stupid. So
well, all this is language that doesn't probably come, you know, you're probably not reading this kind of language day to day.
You should read a few of my articles. You'll realise I think the deepest article I wrote recently was where I wrote about how to get to my why as a Doterra consultant, how getting to my why drove my Doterra business to the next level. That is about as deep as I've ever got. And I had to do some real heavy thinking.
Well, this is
Are we starting to laugh now at me? I'm sure that's not right.
Excuse me. I think that's the beauty of what we do. And again, here we have a perfect example of this journey we are on with Doterra. And you know, as we work together, we actually strengthen each other, and it's really fun to watch Stephen going through this journey with Doterra, because I'm sure that you know, when he started 6 years ago or 5 years ago, he didn't think that he'd be talking about strength and light, and today he is, and actually deep down I think enjoying the subject. So this is something that I find absolutely amazing, is that we've you know, doing what we do, we've got this opportunity to bring the light up, to, you know, things that we never thought we would do. We are doing it because it's something that actually is within us and we're sharing to the world. And I absolutely love that. And one of the things that I find so important, and why it is important for us to share our light, recognize our strength, is that when we are in that moment, actually people listen. Because you are you, and it's your voice is much more powerful, your attitude, your confidence. And so whatever you want to share, people will be listening. And when you off track, when you're trying to be someone else, to do the business in a different way, to be off your strength and off your light, you might be doing activities after activities after activities, but actually not getting results. And that's the comparison you can look at, is when am I in my strength and the result that I deliver, and when I'm not, what kind of result that I get. And most of the time I've noticed when I'm in my element, it's easy and it flows, and you get the results.
I love that, Emmanuelle. And it makes me think, our question was, how do we share our light? And I think we've touched on lots of different ways. Sometimes I think we assume in order to share our light, we need to be the one on stage speaking. And I think that's arrogance. When we understand our strengths, we share our light in every interaction that we have. So as Micala says on her Instagram posts, she speaks in her voice. She tells her story. She shares her perspective. And coffee by coffee, she does that with people. As Stephen writes his articles, he shares his perspective, his strengths with those that he has the opportunity to influence. When Emmanuelle does an aroma touch on someone and has a little conversation with them after, she shares her light and perspective. So I think once we understand those strengths and try to stay in those in all of the interactions that we have, that's exactly how we share that light. It's just sometimes a big delivery to a large group, and often drip by drip on each person that we touch throughout the day.
And coming back, another way of how to share it, I think in Doterra we have such a supportive community, and even if we don't have an active upline, I'm lucky I do, but I think there's always people you can reach out to, cross-line, upline, downline. There's people that you can reach out to and share your strengths. I'm hoping that the way Doterra evolves is that we can start a conversation with what are your top 5, and we know them, list them off, and we understand them. And I think that as well, I've seen there's one group with their strengths, I don't know, it's focusing on the strengths, and okay, adaptability, for example, and why can't they plan? How do adaptability people plan anything? And I love these conversations, and it's I think we can learn a lot about ourselves, and like you said earlier, Sherry, a lot about other people as well, and we can understand them better. So even it works the other way, like someone will put an Instagram post or say something or write something, and you're going to be triggered by it because it's the opposite to your strengths. It helps you understand why they're that way, and I think that way you can have compassion and move forward.
I'm going to give a little personal example. I don't know if this will help anyone, but 2 of my top 5 are achiever, which is very goal-oriented. I love a checklist. I love being able to check something off the list. And empathy. And I recognize that gift of empathy in myself. And I have had to shift the way both of those work for me in the recent months, as I've recognized that it was a time for slowing down for me, and achiever had to be turned down a little bit. I talked to my team about this, and it's like the old transistor radios where in order to get a clear signal, you had to spin the dial so that you could actually hear what they were saying. And I realized that it was time to spin the dial a bit and turn the achiever down and turn the empathy up for myself. I was really good at recognizing what other people needed and did not pay a lot of attention to what I needed. So understanding those strengths and how they can be a strength and also maybe a weakness if they're taken to an extreme has been really powerful for me and helped me to take much better care of myself.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I have activator, which is the one that gets me the most trouble. Like it's like this bucking bronco horse that just wants to dart out of the starting blocks. and it's useful, it's really useful, and it's also a big weakness. And knowing that it's there, I like how you say that you can dial it up or dial it down. And I'm learning to play with it as well.
And I think sometimes for my downline, I think sometimes they think that I'm so diligent and so goal orientated that I'm just banging it every day. They know I am, and so they either got to they've got to acknowledge that they're not going to do that. I think it's maybe it's difficult for them, but I'm never going to change. So it's pointless me kind of being anyone I'm not. It's pointless me not writing an article tomorrow when I know I'm going to anyway. So, or at least I have to say I don't write an article every day, but probably twice, 3 times a week, because they're becoming bigger and more complicated as time goes on. So, but I can understand empathy. Do I have empathy for them? Not really. Well, I've been a social worker for like 15 years, and having empathy is, of course, it's my job to have empathy for people, but I think I have empathy because they may need some empathy from me, but I think when you're a grown up, do you need empathy? No, I don't know. It's there, they've joined Doterra freely, and I think they know what they know what the job is, so it's mainly down to procrastination or something like that. So I don't really put it in the same mindset. I think I give them the tools to work with. I'm always available. They know my strengths. I'm sure they do because I'm doing it every day. So empathy, I'm not sure if I really need to give that out as well. I think I give enough of myself as it is. So, but that's only my view. Empathy for myself, I'm not sure about that either. I don't really have much of that either.
Well, I love that we've kind of touched on collaboration too, and I think that's something to really pay attention to. Stephen has, we work together in our business, and obviously we are very different in our strengths, and sometimes that has meant that Stephen has asked me to talk to one of his leaders because I can speak to them in a way that possibly he can't. And I think Micala brought this up, we can go to our upline, we can go cross-line. Everyone in Doterra is willing to help. So if we feel like we are so different from someone that we can't speak their language in essence, then look for someone else around you and set up a 3-way or set up a conversation with them so they can get the support that they need that we feel like we maybe aren't giving them.
I think when it comes to our collaboration, is that the fact that we are so different. We hardly, if for example, you've got the 2 circles of 2 different people, often there's an overlap. Me and Sherry almost don't touch. Almost don't touch. But that's something that works with us. I mean, I think one thing it does overlap. We both have a sense of humor. And I don't think we're not going to get offended with each other because we know we're so different, and so I think that is what has worked, and it's been very, very lucky that we met each other. I think in some ways that these podcasts are starting to become quite successful. We're starting to get people asking to be on the podcast rather than before we were struggling to get people onto them. But we've got to the stage where we have to actually start paying for our podcast. So we are still on the free one this week, but next week we're going to have to start paying for it. But nevertheless, it's been quite. I think I've been checking the numbers, and we are getting regular listeners to our podcast, not even in Doterra. So it's I'm very, very excited about that. But that is collaboration, and that is down to our strengths. My strengths of the technology and Sherry's strengths are a vast amount of knowledge of things that I don't know anything about.